Hello everyone and welcome back to another Figurehead Reviews video, and today we are taking a look at the Marvel Legends, originally Toys R Us exclusive, now recently announced re-release, fan channel exclusive, Groot Evolution. Here we have Groot displayed in the front window, and we have that classic only at Toys R Us sticker near the bottom, and then we get the Guardians of the Galaxy logo and Groot at the bottom. On the side, we do have a basically product shot of the faces of Groot in each stage of his life, starting with the adult, down to the toddler, and then of course to his little potted plant version. And in the back, we do have a read-up. From potted prodigy to towering tree-like humanoid, Groot uses powers of regeneration to become a legendary defender of intergalactic justice. And there is a UPC, but it's not going to do you any good. Go on Hasbro, Pulse, or Big Bad Toy Store are the two that I can think of. Pre-order this now if you want it. But enough about that. Let's get this open and take a look at Groot Evolution. And here is the Groot Evolution outside of his packaging, and this is a very cool figure, but it is one that we've seen before, quite literally. If you couldn't tell from my intro, I did mention that Hasbro is re-releasing this figure, and to my knowledge, they are not making any changes. It is just a straight re-release of this version, which is the Toys R Us exclusive. So my guess is Hasbro probably had some extra lying around, or they just wanted to get some more use out of this Groot mold and decided to actually re-release the figure. When it first came out, it was around the time that Guardians 2 came out, so it's been quite a few years since we've had a Groot figure come out. It's been quite a few years since Groot's been an adult. He still isn't an adult in the MCU, so I can understand why they haven't really had a release for him, but for whatever reason, they are just getting it back out there so that you can add it to your collection just in case you didn't have it. We do get with this the Toddler Groot. So this is going to be the version without his uniform on. He's just going to be a regular little toddler waving at us. And then, of course, we do get the potted plant Groot that we saw when he appeared at the end of the first Guardians movie. And then, of course, you have the adult version of Groot. So if you did get that Thor 3-pack that was also a Toys R Us exclusive, then you would actually have the teenage Groot. So you would have Groot in all of his lifestyles, which is pretty cool. Now, when standing straight up, the adult version of Groot is coming in at 8 7/8 inches tall, which makes him about 22.5 centimeters. So he is a very tall figure. He was just shy of that 9 inches mark. He does not come with any accessories. He just came with those two little mini-me's. So with that being said, let's just jump in here and take a look at some of the paint and sculpt work on the adult version of Groot. Now, I realize I just said let's look at the adult version of Groot, but I do want to get kind of an up close here on the Toddler Groot, and we can see they actually did a very good job painting the eyes on this one. I mean, they did a better job putting the eyes on this little guy than I've seen on some of the full-scale 6-inch figures, but we do get a little bit of shading with him as well, just some of that green throughout, and just some real basic sculpting here to make it look like he is made out of a tree. And then I did want to show off as well the potted plant, so going even smaller, and they did actually paint the eyes on here quite nicely as well. Trying to steady my hand with them being so small. So you actually have the eyes painted on and a little bit of green there as well. And then we do have a little bit of soil down there in the plant or in the pot so that it looks pretty good. I mean, I like it. So it came out really nice, and they are both a little bit of a softer material, so if you do need to move them around, I will tell you Toddler Groot can be hard to stand up. You might end up having to flex him a bit to get him to stand up. But taking a look now at adult Groot, and we can see the biggest difference here that you'll have from the Build-A-Figure if you have it, and that's going to be the expression. We do get a smiling version of Groot here, which does look really good. You can actually see his teeth, and the paint came out pretty decent. You have some green shading there on the top, which looks really good, and then you do have the little branches there coming off for essentially what would be sort of a hair sculpt for him. But it does look pretty decent. And then looking at the rest of the body, you're going to have all these little branches coming off at a lot of the joints there. But it still looks really good. And I do like the sculpt, actually. I mean, they did a very good job of making him look like he's got just bark and things like that throughout. And you're going to see this green shading everywhere. And I love it. We got like big planks there for his pecs. You get some bigger planks for the abs. they did a good job of designing muscle into these interwoven branches and things like that. So I think that is really cool how they did do that. And on the back, you even have wooden plank butt cheeks, shoulder blades, things like that. So you get a little stump there. But yeah, I mean, it is cool. I will say the shading, it would have probably benefited from like a wash, a darker wash. It's got a little bit of a wash, but I think it would have done a little bit better to have it just accentuate even more some of those deeper crevices and stuff like that. It's sort of like almost like a grayish or maybe dark brown wash that they did. And then they have I'd say it's dry brushing, but it looks like it's printed on. Let's see. Can we see the dots? Yeah, it looks like it's printed on. But really cool. Out of the packaging, the lower legs they're not going to be attached at the knee. You do have to port them in. When putting them on, because his feet are shaped kind of odd, but you can still kind of see left foot and right foot. But most notably is he is going to have, basically, they're going to fit in. So if you're having a hard time figuring out which leg to attach, just line up the pieces on the knee, and then you'll be able to tell which one goes where. And then speaking of those feet, just big old tree trunks down there at the bottom, and they came out looking pretty good. So overall, I mean, it is a cool figure, and I do like the sculpt, and it very much looks like a tree. Now, where it lacks here is going to be the articulation. So remember, this was a Build-A-Figure from around 2015, almost 5 years ago, and we've come a long way in designing some of these Build-A-Figures. But we do have a head that can rotate around. He can't really look down, and he can't really look up. I don't even think there's a ball joint, honestly. I haven't taken the head off, but it doesn't really do much, and you do get a little wobble there. His arms can come up quite a ways. Those, since they are flexible, will move out of the way, but his arms can come up quite a ways. He does have full rotation, an bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, and then he does have rotation and hinge at the wrists. He does have a diaphragm joint, which is going to give you full rotation around. You can see the sculpt work there. Does kind of stop, though, if you turn it too much. And then, yeah, doesn't go forward very much at all. And again, that sculpt work stops if you do. And he can go back a little ways, but again, that sculpt work, I guess it's not completely abruptly stopped, but still it leaves you with a little bit of a gap. But not a whole lot of waist rotation there, or rather the diaphragm rotation. You don't really get any side to side either. The legs are one of the worst parts. So if I can kind of show you, they're pegged in. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. They're pegged in up here, which means you have the disc joint there. There you go. Actually, you can see it right there. So they're pegged in at the top, which means he doesn't kick forward right now. Like, there is no way for him to kick forward. You have to spin this around, then he can kick forward. But of course, then his knee is angled wrong. So if you want to do anything to the side, you're fine. But since he doesn't have an upper thigh cut, kind of doing the open leg stances get really weird, which is why I didn't do a whole lot of poses. It's just very hard to pose his legs. He does have a single jointed knee. There is rotation at the knee, so that kind of helps with some of the poses that you might put him in, since we don't have the thigh cut. But yeah, it's still pretty rough. And then he does have a hinge and some ankle pivot, but man, those hip joints, those are the roughest thing. Maybe with this re-release, I'll have to look and see if they're changing it, but I imagine they won't. And that is going to do it for this review, everyone. So overall, if you do not have the Build-A-Figure Groot, then getting this new pre-order one should be worth it, in my opinion, especially if you've collected some of the MCU Guardians that have come out. So, for example, the Guardians Volume 2 figures that did come out, you got everybody but a replacement Groot, because we only got that Toddler Groot with Rocket. So, if you want a full-size Groot so you can recreate your Guardians 1 setup, then pick it up for sure. It's a good figure to have in the collection. The downside is just those hip joints mean he's not going to do much other than standing up and just kind of being a tree. So, but again, I haven't seen anything that says that the version that is being re-released is going to be any different from this version, which again is technically the Toys R Us release. I haven't seen anything that says it's going to be different. It looks the same. I just looked at the joints on the legs. They look like they're going to be the same, which I can't imagine they did a retooling for that re-release. So I would say expect to get what I just showed you if you do pre-order that figure. But with that being said, that is it for this review. Obviously, don't forget you don't get Teenage Groot with this setup, but make sure you hit that thumbs up if you like this video. Make sure to subscribe for more content just like this. And aside from that, thanks for watching my video, and have a great day.